Whoa, 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 welcome back to another episode of Epic Earth. Epic Earth is a podcast for those curious about the STEM fields and the awesome, quirky, and fun experiences and research that is taking place right now. This is episode number 13, the Drone Saga. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we take a journey around this epic Earth.
How are elements distributed in a planetary body?
What are our hopes? What are our dreams? What do we want to accomplish? And how do we accomplish it?
We can have all the science in the world, but if it's not translated, how is that helpful?
Welcome to another episode of Epic Earth. I'm Ashley Bosa, and with me I have my co-host, Brian Rosenblatt.
Hey there, everyone.
And today we have a very special guest who Brian and I have both worked very closely with. We're excited to have him on the show. So welcome to Jerry Mock. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Thanks for coming on. So Jerry is currently a Geophysics Masters student here at Boise State University. He specifically works on my project on the Lahars on Volcán Fuego in Guatemala, and I'm very fortunate to have him as a field partner and as a collaborator. He does some awesome work, which he's going to hopefully tell us about in a little bit. But prior to this, Jerry got his Associates of Science in Geology from the College of Western Idaho. And then he transitioned over to BSU to get his Bachelor of Science from Boise State University. So he's an alum already of this great university. And now, of course, he's doing his master's here as well. And Jerry, you're an interesting case, like myself and some other students here at Boise State, because you are a non-traditional student. So can you just explain a little bit about what a non-traditional student is?
Well, a non-traditional student is someone that doesn't drop right into college after high school. So goes out and does things in the world for a while and then comes back to college to enrich their life, get a degree. That's where I'm at.
That's great. And so it sounds like maybe you had a lot of experience prior to coming back and getting a degree.
Yeah. I tried out a lot of different hats in the 10 years between graduating high school and getting back into the college. I was a mechanic for a while. I actually went to a vocational school the last 2 years of my high school and got a certificate of some sort in automotive technologies. So I got a little bit of higher learning right off the bat, but it was more of a trade school kind of situation. So I went into automotive technologies for a while, and then I was a metal fabricator for a while. I was a well driller for a while, did water well drilling, which my family back in Ohio does water well drilling, so I had some experience there too. But yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, a lot of different hats.
That's great. Do you feel like having that experience prior to coming back to college and getting a degree really helped with college, or do you feel like it was a setback, or are there aspects of it that you can apply to your experience in college?
Well, certainly the experiences that I got out in the quote unquote real world are definitely helpful and understanding what I need to do in college. And also treating college like a job, like a real job, really helps with staying on top of assignments and getting things done and really succeeding where others may not, given the same situation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And not to say that students coming right out of high school into college don't apply the same skills. There are several students who might have some skills from growing up, or they might have that mentality to sort of go into it and view it as, a vocation or a job that they're undertaking. But yeah, I think you make a good point that sometimes going out into the real world and experiencing stuff outside of the academia really can drive some of the more important skills to help you get through college. And so you also do a lot of lab work with us, with our team. So you've been working in the geophysics lab for a while now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and maybe some of the cool things that you've created in the lab?
For sure. So when I started working in the lab, it was building the InfraBSU infrasound sensors. So we were at that point, we were developing the containment unit for all the electronics, and we decided to go with 3D printing for all of that. And Jeff went ahead and did all of the schematic work for the design of the 3D print. And then we collaborated with the Maker Lab and in the library, and started doing the actual 3D printing. And that took a lot of trial and error, because I'd never 3D printed anything before.
Mm-hmm.
So the learning curve was a little bit steep, but we got there. Eventually we got to a really good product that did everything that we wanted it to do. It took some time though, a lot of trial and error in that process. And then also building all the cables and the associated electronics, doing a lot of soldering and the stuff like that. And I knew how to do all that stuff from my time in industry doing similar things, like being an auto mechanic. Like, you have to learn how to do some of those more technical things. So it's really helped me out. And
yeah, that's awesome. And also, can I just say, like, you're such a problem solver. I think that's a huge skill that you bring not only into the lab, but also into the field. So if our stuff breaks, you're kind of there already thinking of the next steps on what we need to do in order to fix it. And whatever that requires, either duct tape or a drill press, you've got it in your mind. So can I just say that is awesome? And awesome. And then you also have a bit of an invention that you are currently developing and working on. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see, it's been 2 years now, something like that. I was sitting in a geophysics class, and we had a guest speaker coming in to lecture because our instructor was in Italy, I think, in Stromboli. And he was talking about snow science at HP Marshall. He was talking about snow science and the equipment that he was using and the shortfalls of that equipment. And one of the pieces of equipment he was talking about was the snow depth probe that they were using, and how there was limitations to it because it was only 1.5 meters long, and sometimes the snow was deeper than that, and you just had to manually take measurements. So I got to thinking while he was still talking that you probably build something better.
Mm-hmm.
So after class, I approached him, and he said, if you really think you can do it, I'll get you some funding. So that was the birth of the idea for the snow depth probe that I'm developing. And it's like lasers and GPS, and I think this summer I'm going to have something that's actually marketable, because the last few designs have been kind of clunky and big, because that's how technology works. It starts large and gets small.
Mm-hmm.
But I think moving forward, we're going to have something that we can really hang our hat out and be proud of, and it'll be used for data collection in the NASA SNOWX project, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's sweet. That must feel really good to have something that you can call your own and say, I've built this from scratch. And it was just based off of this idea that popped into my head as this person was saying all the difficulties of the equipment. I mean, I think that we have a lot of great people here at BSU, including you, Jerry, who have these ideas in mind, because the commercial equipment that is used in fieldwork is usually really expensive. It, like you said, it can be really clunky. It can be really heavy. It's especially for the snow expeditions, they carry a lot of heavy equipment back into the field with them, and it's expensive. You're talking like, tens of thousands of dollars just for like one small thing that you're carrying back into the field with you.
Yeah,
And
the probe that they're using now is they're $10,000 a piece, and I think the last time that they got a real serious update was in the late 90s. So it's been a while since they've been updated, and they're like there's obvious problems with them, including being heavy.
Yeah, right. And like when you're backpacking into a wilderness, that's not something you really want to be lugging around with you.
How much does it cost you to make the one you're designing?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So the one that I'm designing is going to cost, at the end of everything, including labor, less than half that. So it's definitely a cheaper option, and it's going to be lighter and easier, and you'll be able to extend it to however long you need it, several meters instead of just 1.5, and it'll be adjustable. So you won't be lugging around 3 meters worth of pole when you only need a meter.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for it?
The working title is the JCM Snow Probe.
Cool.
So clever.
Yeah, so clever.
That's awesome. Well, we're honored to have you on our team, Jerry. And honestly, it's so awesome that you have this invention that is really coming to life for you right now. So keep up the good work with that. I like that you sort of, to like wrap up your sort of introduction, you kind of quoted this William Shakespeare quote that says, "You're a jack of all trades, is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one." So that's very true. I feel like a lot of us are in that, boat.
Yeah, that's something I definitely like to live by. Like, there's no reason to limit yourself when you're learning new skills.
Yeah,
because they are applicable everywhere.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of our group lives by sort of that notion, and that like a lot of us are so excited to learn so many different things, and it's difficult at times. Like, you have some limitations in some of the things that you're trying to learn, but I think we're fortunate to have a team full of people who are just, enthusiastic enough to sort of apply themselves in a lot of different areas, which is awesome.
Yeah, learning with gusto.
Exactly.
And now,
what makes you you?
So, Jerry, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are as a person? What makes you you?
Well, first and foremost, Homo sapien sapien. After that, geophysicist / volcanologist / geomorphologist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all around kind of a little bit outdoorsy, a little bit indoorsy. I just started skiing this season,
Nice.
which is super exciting. That's like something that I've kind of always wanted to do, but it was always just a little bit out of my reach for whatever reason, like scheduling or money or whatever. But that this season I finally got out there, got myself a twilight pass at Bogus Basin, and I'm actually getting pretty good at it. The last time I went out, I didn't even fall. The first time I went out, that's all I did.
Yeah.
I got really, really, really good at falling down on my first time out.
And getting back up, probably.
Yeah, and getting back up. Yeah, that like being kind of crappy at something is the first step to being kind of good at something. So it's just how it goes. But yeah, so skiing, that's a new thing. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast. I've done several fairly long trips to coastal California, just north of San Francisco.
Nice.
I've traveled all around Idaho, over to the Oregon coast a couple times, up into Washington. Yeah, I really, really enjoy being out on a motorcycle. I've put, see, 15,000 miles on two wheels,
Wow.
which is quite a bit.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Considering that you can only be on two wheels for what, 4 months here
Yeah.
in the
Maybe-
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. And in Idaho, maybe even less.
Yeah.
That's great though. I bet driving a motorcycle through Idaho is probably it's got to be so much fun to do that, because the roads are so narrow and windy, and on a motorcycle, that's just like the best type of roadway.
Yeah. It's let's see, there's a highway in the Owyhees, the southern highway that goes basically right next to the Bruno Dunes.
Mhm.
It's a really nice road, and there's basically no cars on it. It's super windy. It's just beautiful terrain all the way through. Like it's a dream to just get into that flow state on a motorcycle and on those tight winds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never really ridden a motorcycle, but I can imagine that those areas can just give you a whole different perspective of traveling down those roads when you're on a motorcycle. Super cool. So Jerry, you told us that you have a pretty big background in sort of trade school skills, and then you went in to get your associates. And so what got you interested in sort of geology and geophysics? What sort of drew you into that field of study?
Well, so the geoscience, I talked to my brother a lot about this before starting school. Like, if I was ever going to go back, I would do something with geology, because I have some experience, because I grew up helping out on the job site with my dad.
Mhm.
He's a water well driller back in Ohio. So I've always been kind of interested in like what's going on down below, because of that, like punching holes through different strata as you go down, and like seeing how it changes, and the occasional fossil popping out in the mud. Like that was really wild when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would still be really wild now. Just like, oh, there's a trilobite.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I've always been kind of like, I want to know how stuff works. And like, we live on a planet, and I really want to know how that works. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think, everyone has a certain level of curiosity that they bring into this field. And yeah, I think so much it's great that you have this sort of like drive and this sort of direction and goal that you have that might be so broad and so ambiguous, like, oh, I just want to know how the planet works. But I think that's really great, and what a cool sort of way to get yourself into something almost similar, but like very completely different from what you were doing before. So
wildly different. Yeah.
yeah.
All of that experience that I was talking about 2 weeks into Geo 101, that I had all of that experience was no longer relevant. So but I'm here now, so it all counts.
Oh, you're doing amazing. So you obviously found your niche in the world and something that you enjoy doing. So that's awesome. So I'm really excited to ask you this next question, because I think you're doing some amazing stuff. So what sort of research are you working on at the moment for your grad program?
Well, right now, I'm working on the Lahar Project, as you said in the intro. So I'm doing drone photogrammetry with structure from motion to develop tools to see how the Lahar channel is changing over the course of a rainy season.
Mhm.
So I'm taking a bunch of pictures with a drone, dumping those into some software that stitches all those pictures together and creates a 3D model that I can use to see how things change over time. That's the long and short of it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's so great because you just primarily use drones. You don't really use any other sort of equipment. So
Yeah. There's very little other stuff. I think the next project we're going to use some survey equipment, but for this one, it was just strictly drone photogrammetry. Nothing else really.
And sort of, can you just explain a little bit about how you got onto that project and why drones? Why are you so interested in using the drones themselves?
Well, I really just like drones. That's
yeah. And
yeah,
totally.
I really just like drones. So when it came down to it, I just wanted an excuse to use drones. And I'd done some structure from motion stuff and a drone class that I took, and I thought it was really cool. And so when we got down to Guatemala, I was like, hey, we could do some drone stuff and like over time figure out how this stuff is changing. And Jeff really liked that idea.
Mhm.
And that's basically how I made myself a part of that project.
Yes. Jerry unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, made himself very relevant the first time we went to Guatemala. And so Jeff and I were talking afterwards and we were like, you know what? Jerry's a great addition to this project and he's going to do drone stuff for us, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's what I do. I dig myself in like a tick.
Yeah. Not quite as annoying as a tick.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like a friendly, likable tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pain free.
Yeah.
Well.
Jerry, can you just explain what is the best or most fun thing that you do with your research? What do you like the most about it?
Well, flying the drones obviously is awesome. Like developing the flight paths and figuring out how you're gonna do all that stuff, all the planning that goes into it is a lot of fun. Flying the drones is definitely a peak because that's like, it's so cool to see things from that perspective because you're watching the screen as the drone is collecting all the data. So like you get to see everything, all of the data that you're going to be working with for the next however long. You get to see it being collected in real time.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating to me. And from a drone's eye view, you see the world through a completely different lens. Like
Yeah.
everything is a little bit different from 100 meters up, right?
Yeah.
After that, it's the processing. I enjoy getting into the nitty gritty of developing that data into a product that's visually appealing. Like everything from stitching it together in the initial software to make the 3D models to the making the figures after that to show how it's changed over time. Like every part of that is really fun, but flying the drones is definitely the highest peak on that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you've got a few different drones that you use out in the field, and possibly a new one that we'll be using this summer. Can you just tell us like very briefly about some of those drones that you're using?
So we started out planning on using the DJI Air 2 drone for the initial surveys the first time we went down there, because that's what we had. That's what we had available. So we did all of the initial surveys with that drone, and then we ended up leaving that one with our collaborator in Guatemala, Armando. And then the next time we went down, we were going to use the DJI Pro 2. Yeah, the Mavic Pro 2. And we got that one down there, and our first time out in the field with that one, that had an issue with some of the onboard software, so it never got off the ground. But luckily, the Air 2, Armando still had it, and he still had all of the flight programs, so we were able to use that one still. So all of my data that I'm using now is from that one little drone, and it just did a great job.
Yeah,
Can't say enough good about it. I think the next time we go down, we're probably going to use the Pro. I'm going to take 2 of them this time, because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Right.
right.
Yeah, I'm going to take 2 of them this time. I was considering using a larger drone, but it seems like to get the resolution on it that we're looking for, I won't have to do that. So even though big drones are cool,
Yeah.
and at some point it's overkill and it's difficult to get into the country. So
yeah, going through TSA is always fun with the drones anyway. But
So I know you're a very creative person, and you tend to give the drones names.
yeah,
You think you could tell us a few of the?
Very clever drone namer.
Yeah, I think the audience would like to hear the names of some of these drones.
Well, when Jeff initially got the Mavic Minis, he passed them off to me. He's like, "Here, give these drones some names," and I'm sure he was expecting like Alpha, Beta, something like that. But I decided to go a step further because I'm incapable of not doing that. And I named them Ravenclaw, X-Wing, and Vincent van Drone. Vincent van Drone is definitely my favorite of the 3.
Yeah.
This newest set, I decided that we should name them after dragonfly species. So we've got Meadowhawk and Flame Skimmer. Which are the coolest dragonfly. There's so many dragonfly names, by the way. There's thousands and thousands of dragonfly names to pick from, and those were the coolest ones that I found.
That's awesome. Yeah, dragonflies are really cool species, by the way. Like they've lived for so long, and they've been like so adaptable to so many different environments. So that's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, that's great that you are so clever with your names, Jerry. And then the Air 2, didn't we name it like Air 2 Brute or something?
Yes,
like that?
Air 2 Brute. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry and I often probably are on a lot of lack of sleep. So in the lab, sometimes we just think out loud and maybe come up with some random stuff. But
diamonds in the rough.
Rich, Jerry, do you have any fun stories from the field?
Fun stories from the field. There's a lot to choose from. Which type of fun? Because that's a real like type 1 fun where it's fun at the time, or type 2 fun where it's like fun later.
What do you have examples of, like maybe one of both? So
Porque no los dos.
Yeah.
So let's see. Hiking up Fuego to Candelaria, you know where it is, but like, was it 2 or 3 kilometers, but like at a pretty steep grade. That was definitely type 2 fun.
Definitely type 2 fun.
Yeah, like, because it really sucked at the time, and it was awful. It was sweaty and hot.
Yeah.
When you got up to where the foliage kind of separated out, you could see the broad open old caldera and all of the greenery in it, and the volcano right there. popping off every 20 minutes or so with small eruptions. Like that was a really, really amazing sight.
Mhm.
That was, and then I flew a drone there.
We almost killed the drone there, but we flew
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I ran it into a tree a little bit, but it
A little
recovered.
bit.
So it's yeah, it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, like that was glorious. That was definitely fun. But getting there sucked.
Was it worse than Villarrica?
It was differently bad. Because when I hiked up Villarrica, I had a knee injury.
Oh yeah.
The day before, I was jumping, carrying a drone. I was jumping across a small stream, and you had to jump to a rock in the middle, and then from that rock to the other bank. So I'm holding a drone in one hand and the controller with someone else's phone attached to it in the other hand. And I jumped to the middle rock, and that's fine. I made it perfect. And I jump from that middle rock to the other bank, and as my foot lands, it slips on some sand
Oh no.
on a rock, and I lose my balance, and I like topple forward. I think I take 3 steps, and then as I'm going down, right underneath my kneecap, there's that tendon. It's called the meniscus, and it hit right on the top of a sharp rock.
Oh my god.
Just smacked it. Just enough to really mess up the rest of the trip. But yeah, I saved the drone. The phone went flying.
Yeah.
But it survived with a dent. But the important part is I saved the drone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was Scott's phone too.
It was
wasn't
Scott's phone. Yeah, it's definitely Scott's phone. Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, I hiked another 6 miles that day. And then the next day with swollen knee, hiked up Villarrica for what was like 4 something hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
Like I think mine was like 5.5 hours by the time.
Yeah. So something like 5 hours worth of hiking up Villarrica. Like every time we would take a stop, I would just like stick my knee in the snow just to cool it off, take some of the swelling out. Yeah, I was wrecked by the time we got to the top, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah. And so climbing up Fuego then was a little bit different than that. Obviously you didn't have a knee injury, but
yeah. So Fuego was different in that Villarrica was cold climbing up, and Fuego was definitely the opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's just wet and sticky.
I don't think I've ever sweated so much in my life.
Yeah. Definitely drinking a lot of water because it's all coming right back out.
But also like I feel like you're also climbing through like really thick brush at the bottom. There were places where we had to use machetes to get through some of the vegetation. Towards the top, it's all really loose, unconsolidated ash deposits, and so there's a lot of like unstable slopes that you're sort of hands and sort of knees crawling up certain parts.
It's a scramble through loose sand in some places. Sharp loose sand, I might add.
Yeah, that's definitely type 2 fun, but you're right, the views from up there are phenomenal, and to be so close. I mean, Brian, you know, because you've been to Stromboli, but to be so close to an erupting volcano is always really impressive.
Yeah.
Speaking of that sand and the loose material, that makes flying a drone near volcanoes it causes some interesting problems. So the rotors on those drones are open, so all of the electronics are exposed to the elements. So if you land a drone on the ground in that sand and ash, it's basically just ash. It's just glass particles that are very sharp. There's a possibility to kick up some of it into the rotor, and that causes it to stick and fail. So in order to combat that, we actually don't take the drone off from the ground or land it on the ground. We take it off from the palm of our hand held above our heads and land it in the same fashion. So we just snatch the drone out of the air, which is makes for very impressive pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures. And also, if you've ever tried to like steer a drone and also catch it at the same time, it takes some definite like hand-eye coordination there.
Yeah. It's definitely a skill. It takes some practice.
Yeah, you're awesome at it though. Great. So type 2 fun. What was your type 1 fun then?
Let's see.
I mean, besides working with me, because
Right, obviously. Yeah, so type 1 fun in the field. It's flying the drones. Type 1 fun every time.
Yeah.
Every time that drone is in the air, I'm having type 1 fun.
Yeah.
It is a great time. As far as type 1 fun in the field with people, it's always the drive to and from our field site.
I'm actually surprised you say that, but that's funny.
Yeah, it's a barrel of laughs, no matter what we're doing.
It is.
Yeah, it's just hanging out with smart people making smart jokes.
Yeah, I feel like I honestly feel like that's our entire field experience, not just on the drive. But the thing that I love about Jerry, and the thing that I love about the people that we work with is that I don't think we've ever had, I mean, we've had stressful moments out in the field, but nothing that people were like mad or upset about. Like people just laughed through it, and we just make jokes, and we're all sarcastic with each other. And yeah, so I think that really makes the field experience, because you're out there doing some tough stuff, like climbing up really unstable slopes, or it's not always the funnest thing carrying a lead acid car battery. So like it's nice to have people that keep it lighthearted and that you can sort of I don't know, rely on. And yeah, so
another fun experience was getting roped up and attaching the camera to that dead tree on the side of the barranca. Like that was definitely a fun experience for me. Like got all the safety harnesses on, got my helmet on, going out and strapping a camera to a tree to collect data. That was type 1 fun for me. That wasn't even type 2. That was type 1 fun. I was like, this
climbed
is awesome.
up a tree.
It was right on the loose and precipitous edge of the barranca. I didn't climb up the tree, but I did get all the way out on this like sheer cliff ledge. Like I could look down and there was nothing under there for what, like 20 meters, 30 meters, something like that. It's a very deep channel.
Yeah.
And the edge is sharp because it's all unconsolidated material that sloughs off on the regular, which that's why we had the ropes on. But yeah, like that was a lot of fun for me. Like getting out there and doing the stuff with the little bit of spicy stuff, the danger involved.
Yeah, I have a really great action shot of you doing that, Jerry. Maybe we'll add it to our website so people can see just exactly what it looks like for you to do that, because I'm sitting there having a cardiac arrest while Jerry's out there doing this, and I'm just like, please, like, just don't like fall, like. But Jerry's the type of person that will volunteer for stuff like that, so bless you, Jerry.
Yeah, every time. Like I know that we're going to do everything that we can to make it as safe as possible. And that's why I have such a level of comfort, like making these quote unquote risks, because I know that we're doing everything in our power to mitigate the danger. And in my previous jobs, like there was times that I didn't have that mitigation, and I did it anyway because it was part of the job and it was what I needed to do at the time. So like this is cake. I'm
Yeah.
for it.
It turns out you end up just getting hurt jumping over a river. So
Yeah. Jumping over a small stream.
Yeah,
Is
not even a river.
Too much danger sauce for me.
Yeah.
You need to wrap you in some bubble wrap or something.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, Jerry. And it helps having Armando Pineda with us, who we interviewed in a previous episode. But he's just obviously one of the safest people out there, and he's got all the equipment for us. So I wasn't too worried. I wasn't actually having a cardiac arrest. It was just like, it's a little unnerving to watch him do it.
Yeah, it's like watching a flying trapeze. Even though there's a net, like it's still a thrill.
Yeah. Well, especially towards the end of the season, because I felt like the very last time that we went down in September and you had to take the camera off of the tree. It was
there was a lot less ledge at that point.
It was a lot less. But you did amazing. So Jerry, I'm gonna sort of switch gears here a little bit, and we like to just have, a little bit of fun with our guests. So I'm gonna ask you a really serious question right now.
Serious question.
How much do you know about the Andromeda Galaxy?
I know a little bit.
Okay.
I know of its existence and some random facts.
Of course. So my first question to you is, like, how would you solve a scientific problem if you were from the Andromeda Galaxy?
A scientific problem if I was from the Andromeda Galaxy. I would use math. like I don't think math is a strictly human construct. I think it exists out in the universe. It might not be base 10, like depending on how many fingers I have in this other it might be base 12 or base 14, which is fun to think about if you're a nerd.
And maybe you only have one finger.
Or base 8.
Yeah.
If I'm like looking like Bart Simpson, like there's endless possibilities of how the math would present itself, but realistically, all the equations still work if it's in a different root base. So yeah, it would have to be through mathematical equations, because that's how science works. Like the basis of science is through an understanding of mathematics. It's a hard stop.
Yeah, that's very true. Good point. Is there like a specific problem that you could think of, like hypothetically, anything, if you could solve any problem with math, what would it be?
A math problem from the Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, gravitational acceleration is always a good one.
Yep.
Like how fast things fall. Yeah. So if I was a pioneer in scientific learning and some planet on Andromeda, I would probably do the Leaving Tower of Pisa cannonball experiment. Develop some sort of equation for gravity that way in my base 12 or base 8 mathematical system.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a really great answer. So when we figure out how to get there, I'm going to put in your name as a potential, volunteer to be sent to the Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. And the longer we wait, the closer it gets. So
that's true. I mean, in like a million or so years, they might have that figured out. So.
Yeah, just spin me back up and we'll go. Let's get
it. Cool. So, okay, we're going to get a little bit back into your research now. Cool. And we do this segment where we kind of challenge you to describe your research to 3 different types of people, or groups of people. And you've had some experience with this because you've presented at a couple of conferences already. And you've done a lot of great posters. So I think you're going to nail this part. So So the first group of people that we ask you to describe your research to is like an elementary class, like a 4th or 5th grade class. So think like 8 to 10-year-olds. How would you describe your research to them?
5th grader.
Okay, 8 to 10-year-olds are pretty smart. Let's see. Like you've seen. Are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Yep.
Are you smarter than a 5th grader? I don't know. So I won't have to play it down very hard. So what I do is I take drones and I go out and I take a lot of pictures from pretty high up, and all those pictures have a lot of overlap. So it's basically the same picture, but just a little bit different each time.
Mm-hmm.
And I take those pictures in a big area, and then I take those pictures back to the lab and I put them into a software, into a computer that stitches all those pictures together. And it uses some pretty complex math to make a 3D model out of it, like Minecraft. Like Minecraft. Only it's the real world, and it's all from pictures that I took. And then I use that to see how things change over time.
Sweet. Love how you add in Minecraft there. I think it's so relevant to the elementary kids. They love their Minecraft.
They love their Minecraft.
Okay, so the next group of people would be maybe someone who's maybe in high school or an undergraduate, like maybe someone who's in your current lab or something, who knows a little bit about your research but doesn't really have like your area of expertise. So how would you explain what you do to them?
Undergrad.
Okay. So what I do is I go out into the field on the flanks of this constantly erupting volcano with a lot of loose material and detritus, and I'm studying lahars, which are volcanic mud flows down through channels, right? And these channels get eroded. So what I do is I take a drone out and I do a survey over about a half kilometer wide to a kilometer long, with overlapping pictures for structure from motion. And then I take those back to the lab and I stitch all those pictures together in Agisoft, and it creates a digital elevation model and an orthomosaic through some pretty complex math. And then I subtract those digital elevation models from each other to find how things have changed over time. And I'm doing that for 5 different stations over 5 months.
Nice. That was great. Yeah. You're really articulate with your explanation.
I've had to explain this about 4 times to my dad. So
yeah. Well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last group is, and you've had some experience with this. You're presenting at a big conference and you need to tell a professional what your research is about. So how would you explain it to someone who is a professional?
Expert.
Okay, so professional. So I'm using drone photogrammetry on a barranca in Guatemala on the flanks of Fuego volcano to see how the barranca changes over time, and using digital elevation models collected through drone data for DEM differencing to see the geomorphological changes over time.
Nice. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, you're really great at this. The really fun thing, I was sitting here as you were explaining that and thinking about it, is Jerry is really like a subset of my project, and he's doing all this amazing drone work, and he's on his own project to figure out the DEM differencing in the drainages, and he's made these really beautiful profiles from the 5 months that we've been working down there that show some really dramatic erosion, at least for one of the sections. We don't know what's happening yet in the other sections because he's still processing that data.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, but his work is so integral to the things that I'm studying because in terms of the seismic and infrasound signals, the geometry of the channel really changes the energetics of these flows. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the signal flow behaviors and some of those energetics, like the energy contained within those flows and how it changes, not only as it, you see the front of the pulses and then it travels back into the tail ends, but also as it travels from upstream to downstream, how those energetics change. And a lot of that is dictated by these geometric changes, these geomorphology changes in the drainages. So what Jerry's doing is actually very, very important for the work that I'm also doing. And so we're very fortunate to have him working on it, doing all
there's at least one section that has cut laterally like 8 meters and then cut vertically another 7. So that is a lot of material in that one area that's been eroded just over one season. The energetics associated with Lahar's is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're definitely very destructive, very powerful entities.
So quick question.
Oh yeah.
About how many pictures do you take per drone deployment?
It's anywhere from 150 to like 370, depending on which area it is. Because each study area, when I set up the flight plan, is a slightly different geometry. So depending on what I need to cover and the altitude, it's a little bit different for each one of them. But that's about the range. So 150 to 370 pictures.
Yeah. Do you know about how much data that takes up?
Oh,
storage wise?
That's 58 gigs, I think.
Wow.
On average. And just for the raw data.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the raw pictures.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's great, Jerry. We're so grateful for you and the fact that you're able to do this for yourself. It's going to be the most amazing master's project, besides Brian's, obviously.
Right, obviously.
But also the fact that you're just able to help us out with that, because I think Jeff and I bit off more than we could chew, and we're like, and luckily Jerry was there to sort of take on what we're going to take on.
Yeah, swoop in.
Yeah.
Swoop in and job jump. Like I am incapable of keeping my fingers out of things. Like if there's a project to work on, I'm gonna put my fingers in it. I can't help it.
Yeah, that's a good thing for the science fields, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not for other things, but
yeah. When I'm in the lab, I'm always like every time there's something going on in the lab, I'm like looking over people's shoulders, like, hey, what you got going on there? Is there anything that I could do? I can help you solve that problem.
You're the reason why museums have the do not touch signs.
Yeah, that's it. Because just fiddling with everything.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're gonna sort of wrap up your interview with a couple more serious questions, because we like to do that.
I'm ready.
Serious question.
Your first serious question is, what would happen if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% the speed of light? What do you think would happen?
Okay. So 90% the speed of light. So are we starting from the pitch or halfway through? Because the pitch is important.
No, the pitch. Definitely starting from the pitch.
Okay, so starting from the pitch, the windup is going to be devastating. If it's anywhere near a planet, the windup for the pitch is going to be catastrophic. because the amount of energy that it would take to propel a baseball at 90% the speed of light is insane. Like that is a wild amount of energy. So the air around the baseball, due to friction, would turn into plasma, an extremely heated plasma, and that would burn everything for miles. So that's before it leaves the pitcher's hand.
Right.
Like everything is suddenly on fire. and like the surface of the sun kind of fire, not like campfire, but like really, 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 really hot. so everything's on fire. And then as the baseball is going to have to be some sort of unburnable substance. So it's not a regular baseball, it's like some crazy indestructible baseball. So as it leaves the pitcher's hand, everything's on fire, and then basically the pitcher's going to explode like right after that, because it's 90% the speed of light. like the baseball is going to crush through the intervening atmosphere at a ridiculous speed, causing untold damage to everything around it, and then vaporize the pitcher. So, the pitcher and the batter, like
We'll say the pitcher. We'll say the pitcher is a pitching machine, so no pitchers get hurt in this simulation.
Yeah, no pitchers were injured in this simulation. And as long as the planet's also abandoned, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. So that question actually comes from this book called What If by Vincent van Drone. And
I read it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great book. I'm not like trying to specifically promote anything on this podcast, but if you haven't read that book, I think all three of us have.
Yeah, you should definitely read it. It's a good one.
It's basically, this guy has this blog, and he has lots of people like write in and ask him all these scientific sort of questions. A lot of them are so ridiculous, and so he tries through physics and math to sort of figure out the answers to them. And I think his answer, right, was that basically the entire planet would just like implode on itself, because
it would crack the planet. Yeah that amount of energy released all at once, even on that small it would just crack the planet.
Yeah, great job. Okay, one more question. So Jerry, if there is a finite amount of matter in the universe, how does the Olive Garden offer unlimited salad and breadsticks?
That's a good question. I have to assume that they're getting it from an alternate dimension. Like there's some other parallel universe that is just breadsticks. So they're actually adding to the matter in our universe through this alternate universe breadstick machine. Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah, that's really the only explanation.
Well, they could be converting the matter already here to breadsticks.
No, totally implausible. Yeah. It's got to be an alternate universe that's just made up of breadsticks.
That's true, but then how do you have conservation of energy when you're adding? Or conservation of, how do you we're conservation if you're adding more into the universe?
Well, it's because it's from another universe. Like you don't have to worry about it. Like
just don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's like you don't have to worry about it because you're getting it from outside the system. You're adding to the system. So conservation of mass and energy are conserved
in our system.
In our system, because we're like getting it from the outside.
Right.
Like, it's fine.
Okay. I'll go with that answer.
Yeah.
And Jerry, just lastly, because you're so awesome at coming up with random facts, sort of going to put you on the spot. Is there a random fact that you have for our listeners today that you just want to shout out?
Okay.
I mean, I definitely have one that you've told me before, but I want to that you came
Mhm,
up with.
mhm. Yeah, this is whew, what do I want the world to know? So that we'll go with the squirrels.
Yeah,
With the
love it.
squirrels. So the terminal velocity of a squirrel is such that it can fall indefinitely and survive when it hits the ground. That's why squirrels are fearless when they're jumping from tree to tree, because if they fall, it doesn't really matter. Because when they hit the ground, they're fine. So the only thing that could really kill a squirrel from falling is if it fell from a great enough height that it starved to death all the way down.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know
Cats are borderline,
Hmm.
which is why they have to twist and land correctly.
Yeah.
But there have been reports of cats jumping out of 30-story windows and surviving the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's actually a middle zone for cats. I think it's between 2 and 10 stories, where it's actually more dangerous than higher than that for them. Like it's a weird kind of physics thing. Yeah, the terminal velocity of squirrels is such that they do not have to fear falling.
That's awesome. I know that's the case for ants and insects as well, but that's because their mass is so tiny. So
Yeah, it's basically like it scales all the way up to squirrels and cats to a certain degree.
yeah.
That's really interesting. By the way, this is the kind of information I get when we're traveling in the car in the field. Jerry will just turn to me and tell me random facts like this.
Yeah, did you know?
So it's pretty great. Well, Jerry, this has been an amazing interview. I'm so glad we got to get you on the podcast, and you're an amazing person. So keep
Thanks.
it up.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Before we go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yes. My committee, Jeff Johnson, Megan Cattell, and Jen Pierce. Definitely wouldn't be able to do this without them for several obvious reasons. Our lab group, the InfoBSU lab group, most of you included, all of you included. Let's see, my brother, who convinced me to go to college in the first place. Definitely Ben Mock, the guy who started all this malarkey.
Yeah, so we can blame him.
Yeah, you can blame him. Yeah, he is definitely at fault.
All this mocklarkey.
Mocklarkey, yes.
Nice. Very cool. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, we hope to hear more from you in the future, hear about all the awesome stuff that you're going to continue to do.
Yeah. Once I get closer to some real results, I'll come back on and share.
Cool.
We love that. Cool, Jerry. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks.
Yep. See you later.
Bye.
Well, that was an epic conversation.
We'd like to thank all of our listeners.
Tune in next time for another Epic Earth podcast.
It makes data management really important part of my job.
Yeah.
Totally.